Hello my friends, it's good to see you again. I am currently in New Zealand, if you haven't figured that out yet. I'm now back in my old hometown of Motueka. I have just finished doing the ski season down in Queenstown and I am traveling around the country a little bit before I head to my next destination at the end of October. I've been a New Zealand permanent resident since 2020, and in this video I wanted to talk about how I got this residency and the process that I went through with the costs involved. I came into New Zealand back in 2015 in April with a working holiday visa. For those of you who don't know what a working holiday visa is, it's a program, an exchange program that exists between different countries where people under 30 can get a temporary work visa for about a year. And my country, so Belgium, has one for New Zealand, which is what I applied for. I got a working holiday visa for a year. And I traveled in April 2015 into the country. For a working holiday visa, the costs were $455, which is 260 euros. And that was such a long time ago. I was definitely in a different mindset at that time. Like, I landed my first job here in Motueka. I came straight here just because I really wanted to be on the South Island. I wanted to be in a place where it was less densely populated. So I'm not a good person to be around lots of people. So I like really beautiful, quiet places, which is also the reason why I'm a snowboard instructor. I like to hang out around the mountains, and I decided to come to Motueka because the ocean was close by and the mountains were close by, and for me that seemed like the perfect combination. In those first 2 weeks I met my partner, and he was a New Zealand citizen, and that would be the start of my quest for residency.
1 year later.
So after my year of my working holiday visa, we decided to apply for a temporary work permit. So this goes under the family sponsorship visa, which means that if you are in a relationship with a New Zealand citizen, you can actually apply for a temporary work permit and eventually residency. Now, because I was on a working holiday visa, you can actually apply for a 3-month work extension. So a 3-month extension of your working holiday visa. And that is if you have worked for 3 months in horticulture, agriculture, and basically if you've worked on farms or on orchards. For 3 months you can get a 3-month work extension, which is what I applied for first, and that costed $455, so about the same as the working holiday visa, so 260 euros. So after that we had to go straight into a temporary work permit. From that point it is required to provide proof of your relationship. Oh my god, I'm ruining my shoes. Didn't think walking to the ship would be that mucky, but yeah, it's not sand, it's yucky stuff. There are many ways to prove your relationship to Immigration New Zealand.
There are different ways you can prove your relationship. Use all of them. Pictures. Make sure you have pictures of you and your partner together. We took a trip together to South Korea. Joint bank account. Open up a bank account that both of you have access to and deposit and spend both money from it. Letters from friends. Ask your friends to write letters stating you are in a relationship with your partner. Living together. There's a couple of ways you can prove that. Making sure you have mail arriving to your address. Electricity, water bills or rental agreements with both your name and address on them.
After you've been in New Zealand for more than a year, you have to take a medical exam. In the medical exam they'll take your blood, so do some blood tests, take your blood pressure, it's a pretty standard medical exam, and on top of that you have to do a chest x-ray where they check if you've had or have tuberculosis. They also ask you the question if you're crazy. So I obviously passed the medical exam and I had to pay for that as well. So I had to do it twice. Because the first time I took it, the Immigration New Zealand told me that I didn't need the chest x-ray. But then when I finally got my application in, they told me I should have gotten these chest x-rays, so I only got a permit, temporary work permit for a couple of months, and then I had to redo the whole process, including the medical exam. So I paid twice $275 for the medical exam and the chest x-ray, and that's about 160 euros. Then finally, after living together for 2 years, I could apply for the big one, which was my residency permit. The process is not that much different to getting a temporary work permit. You have to send in proof of your relationship, which is basically the same thing as you did for the temporary work visa, only they expect you to send in even more pictures, more letters, make sure that you have a joint bank account, and proof that you're living together. Applying for your residency permit is a lot pricier than a temporary work permit. I paid for the entire visa application process $2,750, which is 1,600 euros. There was one problem though. It was that we lived in a self-contained home, so we were completely self-sufficient, and towards the end of the visa processing periods, we got a phone call from immigration saying that they needed more proof of our relationship, and if we could please send in papers like electricity bills, rental agreements, phone bills, whatever we could have, or whatever official papers we had that contained both of our names. On top of that, I had to go and renew my passport, which is quite a challenge in New Zealand. I am a Belgian citizen, which they don't have a Belgian embassy in New Zealand. They only have one in Canberra, Australia. So if I want to get my passport renewed, that means I have to go to the city where the Embassy of Belgium is holding biometric missions. What's a biometric mission? That means a delegation from the Belgian Embassy in Canberra comes to New Zealand to register your fingerprints so you can ask for a new passport. And they usually only do this in the big cities, which is Christchurch, Auckland. So I had to go from my little teeny tiny home in the valley and fly to Auckland to get my fingerprints registered so I could ask for a new passport. For me that was pretty crazy at the time, because I was used to just going into the city hall and getting a new passport. And I usually only had to travel like 15 minutes to City Hall, and now I had to fly for 4 hours, I think it's 4 hours, to Auckland, and then stay the night, get my fingerprints registered, and then fly back home. In the end, all was well, and I got my New Zealand residency. That was back in February 2018. Residency is not permanent residency, and unless you stay 184 days out of the year in New Zealand, you can actually lose your residency. By the way, 184 days is roughly more than 6 months, which is what I did. I still did my winter seasons. I spent one winter season in South Korea and then another one in Laos. And I spent the other winter seasons in New Zealand, making sure that I had stayed in New Zealand for more than 184 days per year. After those 2 years, I applied for my permanent residency, which was $240. So that's about 135 euros. At this point, you don't have to send in any more proof of being in a relationship, which was a load off of our minds. So you just have to prove, well, you don't have to prove it. They can just check on your passport how long you've been in New Zealand. And I got that as well, hooray! So I've been a permanent resident of New Zealand since March 2020. Counting that all together, the whole permanent residency application, including all the temporary work permits and the residency permit, was in total $6,200 from when I started with my working holiday visa in 2015 up until I got my permanent residency in 2020. So that would be 3,500 euros. Now, if I wanted to go for citizenship, I would have to stay another 5 years in the country, only allowed to leave 4 months out of the year, less than 4 months out of the year. Am I gonna go for citizenship? I'm not sure yet, but I'll see what life throws in my path.
And that's all I have for you today. If you have any questions, please write me a comment. Some people have sent me personal messages, but those take me longer to respond. Plus, other people can read the discussion and they can benefit. Have a lovely day. Love, Jozefien.